bringing you the news
Waiting for an
that
update.
matters right now.
Update.
Hello. Hello, how are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for joining today. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for joining. Hello everyone and welcome to Inks and Airwaves Radio, where we connect readers with some of today's most compelling authors and stories shaping the literary world. Joining us today is acclaimed thriller author Thomas. Welcome to Inks and Airwaves Radio.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. To begin, could you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little about your journey as an author?
Sure. So my name is Thom Tate. 15 years. I did take kind of a hiatus from about 2017 to 2023 to focus on some other things, but I really kind of started to knock things out, publish a few stories, and mainly on spy thrillers, but I am kind of dancing around with the possible sci-fi series I'm kind of thinking about.
Wow, thank you for that. Thank you for that. To the next question, for listeners hearing about Spear Garden for the first time, how would you describe the novel without revealing any major spoilers?
I'd say that for the most part, it is really a non-stop, action-packed blockbuster. If you really like a lot of action and stories with unexpected twists, stories that don't have just wins, but that kind of have some heartbreaking losses as well, then I think this is something that you're probably going to enjoy. It literally spans the globe, takes you to a lot of places that really almost nobody ever sees in other stories.
Thank you for that, Thomas. What first inspired the idea behind Spear Garden, and where did this story begin for you?
So I am a sales engineer for a major global software company by trade, and there's another company I was working for that was being acquired, and I actually lost my job. So I was kind of sitting in front of a computer all day looking for a new job. And you know how you sometimes veer off and kind of go down some rabbit holes. I started looking at YouTube videos, and I came across a video for a show called Future Weapons with Mac Barons. He hosted it, and it featured this really crazy weapon called Metal Storm. You know, I thought, wow, that would just look like it'd be a really cool weapon that you could build a story around, something that would be maybe a good spy thriller. And I thought, well, nobody's going to probably write that, so I'll have to do it. And so that's kind of where my writing journey began.
Wow, that's inspiring. Thank you for that. On to the next question I have with me. The novel opens with a CIA mission in Cuba. That immediately goes wrong. Why did you choose to begin this story with failure instead of success?
Well, if it was successful right off the bat, I guess it wouldn't be much of a story, would it? It'd probably be just a short story. So I needed to create some chaos. And what better way to create chaos than to get caught and being chased through the jungles of Cuba, running for your life. So that's kind of why I did that.
Thank you for that. To the next question, Blake MacKay is highly skilled, but he is also vulnerable and constantly under pressure. What kind of protagonist did you want readers to experience?
Well, I wanted Blake to be, first off, highly competent. I mean, he's a CIA officer for one thing. But I needed him to be vulnerable as a human being. I didn't want readers to automatically dismiss any danger that he was facing with kind of the wave of their hand and the thought of, oh, well, he's going to get out of this. There needs to be that vulnerability where he might not. I wanted there to be, real fear. How the heck is he going to escape this? I see too many times, action heroes pull off these miraculous feats that kind of leave you shaking your head and thinking, and kind of saying, okay, whatever. But I did not want Blake to be this kind of guy, so that's kind of why I made him vulnerable.
Thank you for that, Thomas. While writing this book, was there any challenging parts for you? Like the most challenging parts for you while writing?
I think the most challenging part was kind of filling the gaps. I have an idea where the story begins, and then I have an idea where the story is going to end. But you've got to fill those gaps in there, and you've got to fill those gaps with something interesting that's going to constantly keep a reader's attention. And I like to end every chapter, and I know I can't end every chapter this way, but I like to end, or try to end every chapter with I call it oh crap a moment, where the reader's just like, okay, I can't put the book down, I need to turn the page. And being able to do that for a majority of the chapters is sometimes pretty challenging.
Thank you for that, Thomas. Spy fiction often walks a fine line between realism and entertainment. How do you maintain that balance in your writing?
Well, first off, I love to be entertained. I love high-octane, non-stop action movies. But I also need a story that I can follow. I've seen movies out there that are literally non-stop action, and there's no story to them. You've got no idea what they're fighting for, and if by some odd chance that they told you, it was probably buried in the first 3 minutes of the movie, and then the following 90 minutes is just a flurry of mayhem and destruction, and you've probably forgotten what it was they said to begin with. I need there to be context behind the violence, and I really kind of write what I want to see, and then it just kind of comes natural.
Wow, thank you for that. So the next question, without giving away spoilers, the mental storm's weapons system becomes central to the story. How did that concept comes about?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I looked at a YouTube video that introduced the weapon on a YouTube show called Future Weapons. So, for those of you not familiar with what metal storm is, just kind of picture just a large metal square box. And in that box, you can fit in as many metal tubes, or basically their gun barrels, as you can stuff into it. Now, those barrels can be as small as 9mm, and they can be as large as 40mm. For 40mm grenades. Obviously, the 9mm fires 9mm bullets, and the 40mm fires 40mm grenades. The kind of like you see at the bottom of an M203 rifle. So, in each tube, you stack the bullets one on top of the other. So there's no firing pin, there's no racking a bullet into a barrel that fires, they're literally no moving parts. There's just an electrical pulse that fires the bullet. You can fire them all at once. You can do either one barrel at a time, it's based off the time between ignition, or you can do all barrels at the exact same time. And that's how you can get a rate that's equal to 1 million rounds a minute. And I think the 40mm has a rate of 250,000 a minute. So you can kind of set it to be a silent sentinel watching over you while you do other work or while you're sleeping. You can set an area that if anyone enters without a unique signal identifier, it's just going to unleash hell and rain down fury, blood and grenades in a matter of seconds. So you can see how this could be a very devastating weapon if gotten into the wrong hands.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Thomas. To the next question. Adrenaline is one of the novel's most intriguing characters. What role does she play in Black's journey?
So, for those who don't know, Adriana is the daughter of General Hector Vasquez, who is the person Blake has been assigned to kill in Cuba, which he successfully kills. And he has to go back to her and hope that she can trust him to give her the information that she has. And obviously, she doesn't meet him with open arms because he just killed her father. But she really makes him feel human again. He has some really, really deep scars from loss that I address in a new novel coming out. And she really kind of makes his life feel like living again. And I don't want to give away too much more than that, so I'll just kind of leave it there. But she really kind of brings Blake back from his purgatory.
Thank you for that. To the next question, trust is constantly tested throughout the novel. Would you say trust is one of the core tenets of spear garden?
So if you're in the CIA and you're in the business of espionage, the golden rule is trust nobody. So I'd say trust is a huge factor. Your life literally depends on it. So if that trust is broken, that is a colossal form of betrayal. So when someone gains that trust, it's really kind of a huge twist when they break it. And those things are tested in spirit garden pretty often.
Thank you for answering the question. To the next question, can you take a little glass of water? Hello?
I'm sorry?
I said, can you take a little glass of water? A little glass of water. Can you take that?
Yeah. Sure.
Alright. To the next question, are you ready?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Are you someone who outlines every chapter before writing? Or does this story evolve naturally as you go? Do you get that?
So, no, I absolutely am not somebody who outlines everything. Things really kind of come to me as I write them. I have an idea of where I want to go. Like I said earlier, I have an idea where I want to go, and I need to get there. And the way I write is, I see things playing out in my mind, and I just kind of write down what I see. So sometimes I literally have no idea how it's going to get there. I just kind of play it out in my mind in real time and write down what I see. Sometimes I actually surprise myself. The story will turn in a completely different direction of where I thought I was going to go. My latest book, Beyond All Measure, did just that. It started out with the intention of being one thing, and then halfway through it just completely morphed in itself, and the story changed. It happened again actually last night. I was writing probably the third or fourth to last chapter in my newest book, and one of my characters just took the ending in a completely opposite direction. It shocked me, and I'm sure it's going to shock my readers too. That's kind of what makes things fun, because I just never know where it's going to go.
Thank you for answering that, Thomas. Congratulations on your upcoming novel. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Alright, without giving too much away, what can readers look forward to when it releases?
Are you talking about my new book that's coming out?
Yeah, I'm talking about it.
Alright, so the book is called Who Is Blake MacKay? And it really answers a lot of the questions that some of my, readers have written to me and asked the question of how did Blake become a CIA agent? He seems to be really scarred from his past. What happened in the past that makes him so scarred? What makes him so jaded? And this answers all those questions. It shows him as a young man just graduating college and is met with an absolute tragedy that just tears him to pieces. He had been approached by the CIA to work for them. He turned them down. But this event made him reach out to call the recruiter and become part of the CIA. It walks you through his training. It walks you through 3 completely separate missions, all different, to show how he grew, how he became, how he was, and then finally he hunts down the people that caused him his pain, and let's just say he deals with them. And that's what this story is about.
Thank you for that, Thomas. To the next question, while writing, do you like taking a coffee and listening to a song, for inspiration?
I do drink a lot of coffee, and I do listen to a lot of music. I listen to probably a genre that a lot of people would not expect me to listen to. I listen to EDM, a lot of German.
Wow, that's lovely.
Hard rock, gothic industrial. So yeah, I listen to a lot of that kind of stuff, and I'll actually have that playing while I'm writing.
That's lovely. Thank you. To the next question. The pacing in Spear Garden is incredibly fast. How do you maintain that level of suspense from beginning to end? Do you get the question?
Go ahead.
Do you get the question?
Could you repeat it for me?
Alright. The pacing in Spear Garden is incredibly fast. How do you maintain that level of suspense from beginning to end?
Yeah. So that's what I like to see. So if I think about it, I'm going to go see a movie that's a spy thriller. I really enjoy the Jason Bourne movies. They're very well written. They have a lot of action, but when it's not action, it moves the story along. There's something that's important there. There's a clue discovered, or something else is found, or there's something that's suspenseful, and that's what you got to do. And so I really take a lot of my inspiration from the Jason Bourne movies, as well as a lot of the Vince Flynn or Brad Thor books, and try to keep that pace going. And I mean, I've got chapters where you've got to slow things down a little bit, but they fill in the meat of the meat of the sandwich. And then the action is to just kind of keep you going and keep your adrenaline pumping. So if I get bored, then I know my readers will get bored. So I've got to change things up. If I'm ever bored writing a scene, I've got to change it because I just don't want my readers to get bored.
Thank you for that. Yeah. To the next question. Was there a particular scene or chapter that proved especially difficult or especially enjoyable to write?
Yeah, there's several of them, but I think the one in Sphere Garden that kind of makes me feel that way is when they're kind of chasing the Al-Qaeda terrorists, and they go into Afghanistan, and they think they're coming down on the house where this Al-Qaeda operative might be at, and it turns into really a complete debacle. There's a lot of loss. There's absolute destruction and fragility of human life. And then there's a particular scene in the basement after all the dust settles that if you know, you know. So I'll leave it at that. So if you get the book and you come to that scene in Afghanistan where they're raiding the Al-Qaeda house, you'll understand what I mean.
Thank you for that, Thomas. Spear Garden is part of the Covert World series. How does this novel expand Blake MacKay's story?
So this was actually the very first story that I wrote. I wrote it in 2011 in probably about 6 weeks. I sat on it. Yep, so I sat on it for about 4 years before I published it. It is the longest story to date, and it's well over 100,000 words. That's kind of long for a book in this genre. Typically, they're going to be around 85,000, 90,000 words. So to kind of hone my skills a little bit, or maybe to introduce people to Blake MacKay, I wrote 5 novellas in the meantime, which are shorter stories, anywhere from 13,000 to 33,000 words. Checkmate was the first one, then Meltdown, Fourth Strike, Intercept, and Red Storm. The first three are no longer available. Taking them out anywhere that I can find. Just wasn't that great. I hadn't honed my skills that well. And I actually, Checkmate, Meltdown, and the Fourth Strike are all three of the missions that I've incorporated into my new novel, Who Is Blake MacKay. But they've been completely rewritten. The stories are almost the same, but they're different. I've added to them, so they really are. They're different. Intercept, I rewrote in my new style a couple years ago, and it is available for free on my website.
All right.
Just type in your email, and you can.
All right.
And then Red Storm, I rewrote Red Storm, and rewriting it, I pretty much tripled it in size, and that is the book that became the Royal Contingency. So even though Spear Garden was the first thing I wrote, chronologically they go Intercept, the Royal Contingency, Spear Garden, and then lastly Beyond All Measure.
Alright, thank you for that. For readers who are completely new to this series, can Spear Garden be enjoyed as a stand-alone novel, or would you recommend beginning with the earlier book?
They all can be read as a standalone story, 100%. It doesn't matter where you start. The only caveat there is every once in a while there might be a reference to a past story, whether it's mentioning a character, so it kind of becomes a kind of private joke. If you've read the previous book, you get it. If not, it's no big deal. But I think I do enough explanation if I mention something else that it's okay if you don't read the other one first. So I mean, now that I've got Who Is Blake MacKay coming out, that's chronologically that's going to be the very, very first story, even though it's going to be the last one I wrote. So, but I do make them all to be standalone stories.
Thank you for that, Thomas. What advice would you give aspiring writers who hope to create compelling and political thrillers?
Do your research and get really thick skin. I would say join critique groups, have people judge your writing, and you judge theirs. Take every insult as a way to improve your writing. It's really the best. It's really the best to have somebody tear down your work as you're trying to learn to write than to try to self-publish something that you're going to later regret. Learn to show rather than tell with your writing. That's huge. Too many books I see out there for people that are just tell. That's the point. Find yourself a writing partner to shred each other's work. I have a writing partner. He is 84 years old. He's a Brit, but he lived in South Africa most of his life, and now he lives in Belgium. And we have been talking almost every day via email for the last 4.5 years. I've seen incredible improvements in his writing. He's now won some writing contests. He's getting noticed. Just did a soft read on a short story he just finished today. It's phenomenal. And on the other hand, he just turned in my chapter 33 to me that I wrote last night. He said, I can't find anything wrong with this. It's perfect. So finding someone that will tell you when your story sucks is incredibly valuable. And that's probably one of the biggest things that's really helped my writing career.
Alright. When is your upcoming book coming along? As you can see, our media team already working on the campaign. Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's going to be probably mid to late October.
Oh.
I've got maybe 2, 3, maybe at the most 4 more chapters to write. But I've been recently kind of banging them out pretty quick. I'm banging out 2 chapters in the last 3 days, so I'm hoping to bang those out. Then there's the long, arduous process of getting alpha readers to read it and telling them it's good, and they tell you
that's good to hear.
Make some corrections. Yeah, and then you get the editors. So I'm looking at late October.
Alright, thank you. Finally, if you could leave our audience with one reason why they should pick up Spear Garden, what will you say?
I think a couple of reasons actually. I want people to read my work for one reason. But if you kind of go through and you read the reviews of my books, there's one thing that you'll see repeated over and over, and that's that people say that they feel more like they just got on watching a movie than reading a book, or they'll call it feels like you're in a thriller. I'm extremely descriptive, and I think I've done a good job with the show to tell attributes. So if you're really a true fan of authors like Vince Flynn, Brad Thor, and you really like a lot of action and you really like to feel like you're in the story, then by all means, pick up any of my books. Spear Garden, I promise you'll fall in love with Blake MacKay.
Thank you for that. Where can our audience connect with you and your book?
So all my books, except for Intercept, are on Amazon.com. All of them are on Goodreads and my own website at tatescovertworld.com. And then if you go to the About section, you'll see all the different ways you can connect with me via X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So you can find me in all those places.
Thank you for joining today, Thom. It's a pleasure speaking with you today. To everyone listening, if you are a fan of high-stakes espionage, international conspiracies, relentless action, and unforgettable characters, Spear Garden is a thriller you won't want to miss. Yeah, thank you for tuning into Ink and Airwaves Radio. We will see you with next time. Alright, before we wrap up, I would love to introduce you to Opportunity. Should I go along?
Sure.
Alright. Our editorial team had a chance to review your work, and they genuinely felt that Spear Garden would be an excellent fit for our exclusive newspaper spotlight. The newspaper spotlight is a professional, produced, magazine-style editorial feature where we showcase selected authors and their books. Rather than being an advertisement, it is written as an editorial that gives reader a deeper look into the story, the inspiration behind it, and the author behind the work, all presented in a visually engaging newspaper style format. One of the things authors really appreciate is that once it's published, the feature becomes a lasting promotional asset. You can share it on your website, across your social media platforms, in newspaper, in newsletter, with your reader community, and alongside your book talks, book singing, literary events, interviews, and speaking engagements.
So if you could send me that on an email, and if you can show me some other examples of some other work that you've done.
All right.
And then of course I'll just take a call.
All right, I will.
I'll definitely take a look.